You think holiday side dishes required hours of kitchen labor? Think again. Our grandmothers knew secrets for creating impressive accompaniments in mere minutes, stretching precious time during the busiest cooking day of the year. Let's dig into 30 simple vintage Christmas side dishes ready in just 10 minutes. Buttered peas with pearl onions was the elegant side dish that appeared on countless Christmas tables despite taking barely 5 minutes to prepare from start to finish. Grandmothers kept bags of frozen peas and jars of pearl onions in their pantries specifically for holiday meals, knowing this combination looked fancy enough for company. The preparation was simple. Heat the peas according to package directions, drain the pearl onions and warm them through. Then toss everything together with a generous pat of butter and a sprinkle of salt. The butter melted into a glossy coating that made the bright green peas glisten alongside the pale, sweet onions. Some grandmothers added a pinch of sugar to enhance the natural sweetness, while others finished with a dusting of white pepper for subtle warmth. The dish could sit in a warm oven while other foods finished cooking. Children who normally avoided vegetables often accepted this combination because the buttery sweetness made it feel like a treat. Harvard beets transformed the humble root vegetable into a glistening ruby red side dish that added color and sophistication to holiday spreads in mere minutes. Grandmothers kept canned beets in their pantries year-round, but brought them out especially at Christmas when their deep crimson color complemented the seasonal table. The sauce came together quickly. Sugar, cornstarch, and vinegar whisked in a saucepan until thickened. Then the drained beets were stirred in to coat. The balance of sweet and tangy created a flavor that even beet skeptics could appreciate, the vinegar cutting through richness while sugar smoothed any earthy edges. A pat of butter stirred in at the end added gloss and richness that made the dish look like it required far more effort than it actually did. Harvard beets held well in warming dishes, making them ideal for buffet-style holiday meals where timing was unpredictable. The recipe appeared in community cookbooks across America, each version slightly different but all achievable in under 10 minutes. Waldorf salad brought crisp apples, crunchy celery, and toasted walnuts together in a creamy dressing that grandmothers could assemble while the turkey rested. Created at New York's Waldorf Astoria Hotel in the 1890s, this salad became a Christmas staple because it required no cooking and used ingredients that kept well through winter months. Grandmothers diced crisp red apples, sliced tender celery stalks, and roughly chopped walnuts before folding everything into mayonnaise, lightened with a splash of lemon juice. The lemon served double duty, brightening the dressing while preventing the apples from browning. Some families added raisins or grapes for extra sweetness, while others preferred the original simplicity of just 3 main ingredients. The salad could be made hours ahead and refrigerated, though grandmothers knew it tasted best when assembled just before serving, so the apples stayed crisp. Waldorf salad proved that elegance didn't require complexity, just quality ingredients combined with care. Cranberry orange relish was the bright, fresh condiment that grandmothers whipped up in their new food processors or old-fashioned meat grinders, while other dishes simmered on the stove. Unlike the jellied cranberry sauce that slid from cans, this relish sparkled with texture and tartness that cut through rich holiday foods like nothing else could. The recipe required just 3 ingredients: fresh cranberries, a whole orange cut into chunks including the peel, and sugar to taste. Everything went through the grinder or processor until coarsely chopped, the orange oils releasing their perfume as they mixed with the berries. The relish needed time for flavors to meld, but the actual preparation took under 5 minutes of active work. Grandmothers made it the night before or early Christmas morning, letting it chill while they focused on the main meal. The vibrant ruby color looked stunning in cut glass dishes that came out only for holidays, proving that the simplest preparations often made the most beautiful presentations. Creamed pearl onions brought old-world elegance to American Christmas tables through a preparation so simple it bordered on effortless yet tasted utterly luxurious. Grandmothers relied on jars of pre-peeled pearl onions that eliminated the tedious work of blanching and skinning dozens of tiny bulbs by hand. The onions were drained and warmed in a quick cream sauce made from butter, flour, and milk whisked together until smooth and thickened. A pinch of nutmeg, the secret ingredient that distinguished good creamed onions from ordinary, added warmth without announcing its presence. The finished dish was silky and mild, the sweet onions suspended in sauce that coated each one in creamy richness. Children who found raw onions too sharp often discovered they loved these gentle, butter-soft morsels swimming in their mild sauce. Creamed pearl onions represented the quiet sophistication of mid-century holiday cooking, where simplicity and convenience met elegance on every table. Pickled watermelon rind appeared in cut glass dishes at Southern Christmas tables, a sweet tart condiment that grandmothers put up in summer but could also make quickly from store-bought jars enhanced with extra spices. Those who bought prepared rinds would simmer them briefly with additional cinnamon sticks, whole cloves, and a splash of vinegar to make them taste homemade. The translucent pale green pieces glistened like jewels, their texture crisp tender, and their flavor an unexpected combination of sweetness and pickle tang. Grandmothers served them alongside ham and turkey as a palate cleanser, their brightness cutting through rich meats and heavy gravies. The rinds connected Christmas tables to summer gardens and the waste-nothing philosophy that defined earlier generations. Even families who hadn't grown their own watermelons appreciated this old-fashioned condiment that seemed fancy but cost very little. Pickled watermelon rind proved that resourcefulness and flavor could coexist beautifully on holiday tables. Stuffed celery stalks were the appetizer side dish hybrid that grandmothers arranged on relish trays, their hollow channels filled with cheese spreads that guests scooped out with satisfying crunches. The preparation took mere minutes. Wash and trim celery into manageable lengths, then pipe or spread softened cream cheese mixed with whatever additions the family preferred. Pimento cheese was popular, as were versions with blue cheese crumbles, chopped olives, or crispy bacon bits folded into the cream cheese base. Children loved the celery boats filled with peanut butter, while adults preferred more sophisticated combinations with herbs and spices. The stalks could be prepared hours ahead, covered with damp paper towels to prevent drying, then arranged on platters just before guests arrived. Stuffed celery represented the relish tray era when no holiday table was complete without an assortment of pickles, olives, and vegetable preparations that kept appetites occupied while the main meal finished cooking. Marinated cucumber salad offered cool, crisp refreshment amid the heavy richness of typical Christmas fare, and grandmothers could prepare it in the time it took to slice vegetables and stir dressing together. Thin sliced cucumbers went into bowls with equally thin onion rings. Then a simple marinade of vinegar, sugar, water, and salt was poured over to cover. Some grandmothers added sour cream for a creamier version, while others preferred the clarity of a simple vinegar dressing that let the cucumber flavor shine. The salad improved as it sat, the cucumbers releasing their liquid while absorbing the sweet tart dressing, though it remained delicious even when assembled just minutes before serving. Dill was the traditional herb addition, its feathery fronds both flavoring the salad and making it look like something from a fancy restaurant. Marinated cucumber salad reminded everyone that not every dish needed to be rich and heavy to earn its place on the holiday table. Hot spiced fruit compote was the warm side dish that grandmothers assembled from canned fruits transformed by butter, brown sugar, and Christmas spices into something that tasted homemade and special. Canned peach halves, pear halves, pineapple rings, and maraschino cherries were drained and arranged in baking dishes, then dotted with butter and sprinkled with brown sugar, cinnamon, and a pinch of nutmeg. 10 minutes under the broiler or in a hot oven caramelized the sugar into a glossy glaze while warming the fruits through. The compote was served hot alongside ham or turkey, its sweetness complementing savory meats while its warmth contrasted with cold salads and relishes. Grandmothers who wanted extra richness added a splash of rum or brandy before baking, the alcohol burning off while leaving behind its warm flavor. Hot spiced fruit compote proved that canned goods, when treated with creativity and care, could become memorable holiday dishes. Quick corn relish brought tangy sweetness and crunch to holiday tables through a recipe that required nothing more than opening jars and stirring ingredients together. Grandmothers combined canned corn with diced pimientos, chopped green peppers, minced onion, and a simple dressing of vinegar, sugar, and celery seed. The relish came together in minutes, but tasted like something that had simmered and developed flavors for hours. Its bright yellow color, studded with red and green, made it look festive without any special effort, while its sweet, sour flavor complemented everything from turkey to ham to roast beef. Some families served corn relish as a side dish in small bowls, while others spooned it directly onto meat as a condiment. The recipe traveled well, making it perfect for potlucks and family gatherings where everyone brought a dish to share. Quick corn relish embodied the practical wisdom of grandmothers who knew that impressive results didn't require impressive effort. Glazed carrots became holiday fare when grandmothers transformed simple canned or frozen carrots with butter, brown sugar, and a splash of orange juice in just minutes on the stovetop. The carrots went into a skillet with butter that melted and foamed before brown sugar was sprinkled over, creating a syrup that clung to each piece as it reduced. Orange juice added brightness that balanced the sweetness, while a pinch of salt brought all the flavors into focus. The finished carrots glistened like amber jewels, their surfaces lacquered with caramelized glaze that made them irresistible to children and adults alike. Some grandmothers added a handful of raisins or a sprinkle of cinnamon for extra warmth, while others kept the recipe pure and simple. Glazed carrots could hold in a warm oven for extended periods without losing their appeal, making them perfect for unpredictable holiday timing. The dish proved that even the most humble vegetable could become something special with the right treatment. Ambrosia salad appeared at Christmas gatherings in cut glass bowls, its layers of fruit and coconut glistening with sweetness that children considered dessert masquerading as a side dish. Grandmothers assembled it from canned mandarin oranges, pineapple chunks, maraschino cherries, miniature marshmallows, and shredded coconut, all folded together with sour cream or whipped topping. The preparation required nothing more than opening cans, draining fruit, and stirring everything together in a large bowl before chilling. Some versions included sliced bananas added just before serving to prevent browning, while others incorporated chopped pecans for crunch. The name Ambrosia referenced the food of the gods, and to children of the era, it truly seemed divine, sweet, creamy, and studded with colorful fruit and puffy marshmallows. Grandmothers knew the salad improved after chilling for an hour, allowing the marshmallows to soften slightly and the flavors to meld into creamy harmony. Deviled eggs sat on special plates with oval indentations, their swirled yolk filling piped into perfect rosettes that grandmothers could prepare in the quiet moments before guests arrived. Hard-boiled eggs were halved, their yolks scooped out and mashed with mayonnaise, mustard, a splash of vinegar, and seasonings until smooth and creamy. The mixture was spooned or piped back into the whites, then finished with a sprinkle of paprika that added color and subtle smokiness to each bite. Some grandmothers added pickle relish for tang. Others incorporated a dash of hot sauce for warmth, but all understood that the filling needed to be seasoned assertively to compensate for the bland whites. Deviled eggs disappeared faster than almost any other appetizer on holiday tables, their rich creaminess and portable size making them impossible to resist. The eggs could be prepared hours ahead and refrigerated, though the paprika dusting was always added just before serving. Cranberry sauce from a can was the shortcut that grandmothers elevated with simple additions that made it taste homemade without requiring hours of simmering fresh berries. The Jellied sauce slid from its can in a perfect cylinder, then was sliced into rounds or broken up with a fork depending on family preference. A splash of orange juice, some grated orange zest, and a pinch of cinnamon stirred in transformed the canned sauce into something that tasted like it came from a farmhouse kitchen. Some grandmothers added chopped walnuts or pecans for crunch, while others folded in diced apples or pears for texture and freshness. The enhanced sauce could be served immediately or chilled to firm up slightly, either way presenting beautifully in cut glass dishes. Grandmothers understood that shortcuts weren't shameful when the results were delicious, and the time saved could be spent with family. Bread and butter pickles from grandmother's pantry appeared in small dishes alongside the main meal, their sweet tangy crunch providing contrast to rich holiday foods. Those who hadn't put up pickles themselves could doctor store-bought versions with extra sugar, vinegar, and spices simmered briefly, then cooled over the pickle slices. The thin cucumber rounds with their ruffled edges looked charming, arranged in overlapping rows on pickle dishes that came out only for special occasions. Their sweetness came from sugar balanced with the sharpness of vinegar, while turmeric gave them their characteristic golden hue and celery seed added aromatic depth. Children often discovered they loved pickles through these sweeter versions that lacked the aggressive sourness of dill varieties. Bread and butter pickles represented the farm wife's art of preservation, though by mid-century, many grandmothers relied on commercial versions enhanced with personal touches. Candied sweet potatoes from canned yams became holiday tradition through a preparation requiring nothing more than opening cans, adding butter and sugar, and letting the oven do the work. Canned sweet potatoes were drained and arranged in baking dishes, then topped with generous amounts of butter, brown sugar, and sometimes miniature marshmallows that puffed and browned under the broiler. The natural sweetness of the potatoes intensified as the sugar caramelized around them, creating sticky glaze that made each bite memorable. Some grandmothers added orange juice or crushed pineapple for brightness, while others sprinkled pecans over the top for crunch. The dish could be assembled ahead and baked while the turkey rested, its sweet aroma mingling with savory smells to announce that the feast was nearly ready. Candied sweet potatoes proved that canned vegetables could anchor beloved holiday traditions. Three-bean salad was the make-ahead side dish that grandmothers stirred together from canned beans and a tangy dressing that improved with time in the refrigerator. Green beans, wax beans, and kidney beans were drained and combined with sliced onion rings, then dressed with a mixture of oil, vinegar, sugar, and seasonings. The salad needed to marinate for at least an hour, but could sit for days, the beans absorbing the sweet sour dressing while retaining their firmness. Its colors, green, pale yellow, and deep red, looked festive on holiday tables without any special arrangement. Some grandmothers added diced celery or green pepper for extra crunch, while others kept to the classic three-bean formula that gave the dish its name. Three-bean salad traveled well to potlucks and kept perfectly on buffet tables, making it the reliable choice for cooks who needed something they could prepare well in advance. Scalloped corn transformed canned cream corn into a custardy side dish with just a few pantry staples and 10 minutes of assembly before baking. Grandmothers combined cream corn with beaten eggs, crushed crackers, melted butter, and a splash of milk, then poured everything into a baking dish. The mixture puffed and set in the oven, developing a golden top while the interior stayed creamy and sweet. Some recipes called for adding diced onion or green pepper for texture, while others incorporated shredded cheese that melted into strings throughout the corn. The dish could be assembled ahead and refrigerated unbaked, then slipped into the oven alongside other foods at the last minute. Scalloped corn represented the kind of comfort food that made holiday meals feel complete, its simple ingredients combining into something greater than their parts. Children especially loved its sweetness and soft texture. Pickled beets added jewel-toned color to relish trays through a preparation as simple as opening jars and arranging slices on small serving dishes. Grandmothers who wanted to elevate store-bought pickled beets would warm them briefly with extra vinegar, sugar, and whole spices like cloves or allspice berries for deeper flavor. The deep magenta slices glistened with their sweet tart brine, providing striking color contrast against pale celery and green pickles on the relish tray. Some families preferred the beets sliced thin, others quartered, and still others chose tiny whole baby beets that looked elegant arranged in concentric circles. Pickled beets could stain everything they touched, so grandmothers always served them in their own small dish with a dedicated serving spoon. Their earthy sweetness paired particularly well with rich meats, cutting through fat and providing palate refreshment between bites of heavy holiday fare. Buttered noodles with parsley was the simple side dish that grandmothers could prepare in the time it took to boil water and drain pasta, yet it complemented nearly every holiday main course. Egg noodles were cooked until tender, drained, then tossed immediately with butter that melted into every crevice and a generous handful of chopped fresh parsley. The parsley added color and freshness that brightened the rich buttery coating, while a sprinkle of salt and pepper brought the simple flavors together. Some grandmothers added a squeeze of lemon juice for brightness or a dusting of Parmesan cheese for depth, while others kept the dish pure and simple. Buttered noodles provided neutral ground on plates crowded with strongly flavored holiday foods, giving palates a place to rest between bites. Children often ate them plain, while adults appreciated how they absorbed gravies and sauces from other dishes. Creamed spinach transformed frozen or canned spinach into a velvety side dish through nothing more than butter, cream, and a few minutes of stovetop attention. Grandmothers squeezed excess moisture from thawed frozen spinach or drained canned spinach thoroughly before adding it to a pan with melted butter and a splash of heavy cream. The mixture simmered briefly while the cream reduced and clung to the dark green leaves, creating richness that made even spinach skeptics reconsider. A pinch of nutmeg, always nutmeg with spinach, grandmothers insisted, added warmth that complemented the vegetable's earthy flavor without overwhelming it. Some versions included a spoonful of sour cream stirred in at the end for extra tang, while others finished with a squeeze of lemon juice for brightness. Creamed spinach could hold in a warm oven or be reheated gently without losing its appeal, making it practical for holiday timing. The dish proved that frozen vegetables could become elegant with proper technique. Fruit cocktail in syrup appeared in stemmed glasses at holiday tables, its colorful chunks of peaches, pears, grapes, and cherries requiring nothing more than opening cans and arranging the contents attractively. Grandmothers elevated this simple preparation by chilling the fruit thoroughly and serving it in their best crystal dishes that caught the light and made the fruit glisten. Some added a splash of maraschino cherry juice for deeper color, while others folded in fresh grapes or banana slices to stretch the canned fruit further. A dollop of whipped cream or a sprinkle of shredded coconut transformed the humble canned fruit into something that looked like it required real effort. Children loved the sweetness of the syrup and the variety of textures, while adults appreciated how the fruit cleansed the palate between rich holiday dishes. Fruit cocktail represented the convenience food era while still delivering genuine enjoyment at minimal cost. Jellied cranberry sauce straight from the can remained the nostalgic favorite that many families preferred over fancier preparations, its ridged cylinder sliced into perfect rounds. Grandmothers who understood their families knew that some traditions shouldn't be tampered with, and for many households, that meant the distinctive whoosh and plop of cranberry sauce leaving its can. The sauce was sliced into rounds approximately half an inch thick, then overlapped on a serving plate in a neat row that showed off the ridged impressions from the can. Some families preferred the sauce broken up with a fork, while others considered the intact rounds essential to proper holiday presentation. The sweet tart flavor cut through rich turkey and gravy, providing the acidic contrast that made heavy meals more balanced. Children often ate the cranberry sauce plain, savoring its jelly-like texture and concentrated berry sweetness. This humble canned sauce proved that sometimes tradition mattered more than sophistication. Sautéed mushrooms in butter became an elegant last-minute addition to holiday tables, their earthy richness requiring only a hot pan and a few minutes of attention. Fresh button mushrooms were sliced thick, then added to a skillet where butter foamed and sizzled around them as they released their moisture and began to brown. A splash of sherry or white wine added sophistication while the alcohol cooked off, leaving behind only its subtle flavor. Garlic minced fine went in near the end to prevent burning, its aroma mixing with the mushroom's earthiness. Some grandmothers finished with a sprinkle of fresh parsley, while others added a squeeze of lemon juice to brighten the rich butter. The mushrooms could be served alongside any roasted meat or spooned over steaks and chops for added elegance. Sautéed mushrooms proved that simple technique with quality ingredients created results that seemed far more complex. Tomato aspic shimmered in molded rings on holiday buffets, its jewel-like appearance belying the simple preparation that required nothing more than combining tomato juice with gelatin. Grandmothers dissolved unflavored gelatin in cold water, then stirred it into heated tomato juice seasoned with a splash of Worcestershire sauce, a squeeze of lemon, and a pinch of celery salt. The mixture was poured into ring molds or individual cups and chilled until firmly set, then unmolded onto platters lined with lettuce leaves. Some versions included chopped celery, green onions, or olives suspended throughout the gel, creating visual interest when sliced. The aspic could be made days ahead, freeing precious time on Christmas Day for other preparations. Its tangy flavor provided bright contrast to rich holiday foods, while its wobbling presentation added retro elegance to buffet tables. Tomato aspic connected mid-century traditions with earlier generations who valued gelatin salads. Green bean almondine elevated simple canned or frozen green beans through a quick sauté with butter and sliced almonds that added crunch and elegance in under 10 minutes. Grandmothers drained canned beans or cooked frozen ones until just tender, then transferred them to a skillet where butter was already foaming. Sliced almonds went into toast alongside the beans, their oils releasing nutty fragrance as they turned golden brown. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice added brightness that lifted the entire dish, while salt and pepper brought the simple flavors together. The French name made the dish sound impressive to guests who didn't realize how quickly it came together. Some grandmothers added a pinch of garlic powder or a sprinkle of fresh parsley for extra dimension. Green bean almondine represented the elegant simplicity that defined the best holiday cooking. Minimal ingredients combined with proper technique to create maximum impact. Cottage cheese with chives appeared in small bowls on relish trays, its creamy curds flecked with green providing protein and freshness amid pickles and olives. Grandmothers simply stirred snipped fresh chives into cottage cheese, though some elevated the mixture with a dash of salt, a grind of pepper, or a splash of cream to smooth the texture. The combination could be assembled in seconds, yet looked intentional and homemade on the holiday table. Some families served it as a dip with crackers or vegetable sticks, while others spooned it alongside other relishes as a palate cleanser. Cottage cheese provided protein that helped balance the carbohydrate-heavy holiday spread, while the chives added color and mild onion flavor. The dish represented the kind of practical simplicity that made holiday cooking manageable for busy grandmothers juggling multiple preparations. Sometimes the simplest additions created the most appreciated results. Buttered corn on the cob needed only boiling water and melted butter to become a beloved holiday side dish, though grandmothers knew the secrets to perfect preparation. Frozen corn on the cob went into rapidly boiling salted water and cooked until just tender, never more than a few minutes to prevent toughness. The ears were served immediately with butter for spreading, salt for sprinkling, and small corn holders jabbed into each end for tidy eating. Some grandmothers brushed the corn with herb butter, regular butter mixed with parsley, chives, or dill, while others kept things simple with plain salted butter. Children loved corn on the cob because it was fun to eat, requiring hands and making mess that was forgiven during holiday celebrations. The corn could be kept warm wrapped in foil or a clean kitchen towel while other dishes finished. Fresh corn brought summer memories to winter tables, its sweetness providing bright contrast to rich meats. Marinated artichoke hearts from jars needed only draining and arranging to become an elegant addition to appetizer spreads and relish trays. Grandmothers who wanted to elevate store-bought artichokes would toss them with extra olive oil, minced garlic, fresh lemon juice, and a sprinkle of herbs before serving. The tender hearts were quartered or left whole depending on their size, their pale green color and layered leaves looking sophisticated on holiday platters. Some families served them with toothpicks as finger food, while others included them on relish trays alongside olives and pickled vegetables. Artichoke hearts provided Mediterranean elegance that seemed fancy, but required almost no work beyond opening jars. Their tangy, slightly grassy flavor complemented rich holiday foods, while their tender texture contrasted with crunchy pickles and celery. Marinated artichoke hearts proved that shortcuts could still yield impressive results. Pimento cheese spread on crackers was the southern appetizer that grandmothers could prepare days ahead, its sharp cheddar and sweet peppers improving with time in the refrigerator. Sharp cheddar was grated fine, then mixed with drained diced pimientos, mayonnaise, and a dash of cayenne pepper until smooth and spreadable. Some grandmothers added cream cheese for extra creaminess, while others preferred the sharper flavor of cheddar alone. The spread was mounded in small bowls surrounded by crackers or piped onto cucumber rounds for elegant presentation. Children often discovered they loved this combination when grandmothers let them spread their own crackers. The cheese could be made well in advance, freeing Christmas Day for other preparations while ensuring something delicious waited ready in the refrigerator. Pimento cheese connected Southern traditions with practical hospitality that welcomed guests without overwhelming the cook. Fried potatoes and onion skillet was a fast, hearty stovetop meal that showed up in countless kitchens when times were tough and bellies needed filling without much fuss or money. You would slice up potatoes, chop some onions, heat a little oil or butter in the skillet, and fry everything until golden and crispy. That was it. It sounds simple now, but back when groceries were scarce and time was short, this was a meal that worked. The potatoes filled everyone up, the onions added flavor, and the skillet turned humble pantry staples into something hot, hearty, and satisfying. Some folks added eggs, bacon, or herbs if they had them, but most kept it practical and affordable. You would find this recipe scribbled on old note cards, tucked into grandma's cookbooks, or passed down by word of mouth through generations of families who knew how to stretch every last ingredient. Fried potatoes and onions might seem forgotten today, but back then, it was a reliable fix for hungry families trying to make groceries last, keep dinner on the table, and survive the lean weeks when every meal counted just a little more. Cornbread and pinto beans bowl turned leftover staples into a 10-minute dinner that warmed both stomach and spirit. Cold cornbread from the previous night was crumbled into wide bowls while a pot of pre-cooked pinto beans reheated on the stove with a splash of water and a pinch of chili powder. As the beans bubbled, their smoky scent filled the air, carrying memories of long simmering meals that once took hours. The hot beans were ladled over the cornbread, their broth soaking into every crumb until the bowl became a soft, savory stew. A drizzle of hot sauce or a spoonful of chopped onions added brightness, though many enjoyed it plain, letting the natural flavor of the beans and the sweet cornmeal shine. It was a dish of pure practicality, stretching yesterday's work into today's dinner without a single complaint. Quick to prepare and impossible to tire of, this simple bowl proved that good food is often nothing more than humble ingredients handled with care and eaten with gratitude. Cold salmon mousse cups were the graceful darlings of mid-century entertaining, designed to impress guests without ever showing the rush behind the scenes. Leftover salmon was whipped with cream, lemon juice, and a touch of gelatin until pale, airy, and smooth, then spooned into small glass cups or molded into rings to chill. The joy of cooking listed it proudly under quick canapés, promising elegance in under 15 minutes. Served with crisp crackers, buttered toast, or cool cucumber slices, it was delicate yet rich, a recipe that turned scraps into sophistication. It spoke of hosts who knew how to make beauty from little, how to transform the ordinary into something memorable. The mousse shimmered lightly under soft light, its surface smooth as silk. Guests would take one bite and pause, a quiet moment of surprise at how light, refreshing, and lovely it was. Cold salmon mousse cups were more than food. They were confidence made edible, a gesture of care disguised as ease. Even now, one taste could still call back the calm glamour of the 1950s table. Baked bean toasties were the humble, hot lunches that turned pantry staples into something warm and satisfying in under 10 minutes. You grabbed a can of baked beans, spooned them over slices of soft white bread, sprinkled on shredded cheddar, and stuck the whole thing under the broiler. The cheese melted, the beans bubbled, and suddenly you had a lunch that felt filling and hearty without needing much effort. This quick meal showed up in old cookbooks, school cafeterias, and busy households when money was tight and grocery runs had not happened yet. It was the kind of food that stretched your budget, filled you up fast, and still tasted good, especially on a cold day when all you wanted was something warm and cheesy. Some folks added hot sauce or chopped onions, but the plain version stayed the classic. Baked bean toasties may not have won style points, but they worked, turning basic ingredients into lunch in record time. Cheeseburger. Mac's skillet turned a single pan into a complete dinner that filled plates and quieted hungry stomachs. Elbow macaroni boiled in salted water while ground beef browned in a deep skillet with chopped onions and a dusting of garlic powder. The drained pasta was folded into the sizzling meat along with a handful of shredded cheddar and a splash of milk, creating a creamy sauce as everything mingled over low heat. The smell of melting cheese and seared beef brought everyone to the kitchen before the cook could even call them. In less than 20 minutes, the dish was ready, bubbling and rich, served straight from the pan to eager bowls. Families loved how it combined the familiar taste of a cheeseburger with the comfort of macaroni and cheese, turning two favorites into one speedy supper. Leftovers reheated beautifully, though they rarely lasted long. Affordable, filling, and fun to eat, this skillet meal proved that a fast dinner could still taste like a weekend indulgence, feeding both nostalgia and appetite in every creamy, beefy bite. Corn fritters with maple drizzle were pure Southern comfort, a 10-minute bridge between hunger and happiness. Corn, fresh or canned, was folded into a light batter of flour, egg, and milk, then dropped into a hot cast-iron skillet where it sizzled and rose into golden pillows. The outside crisped, the inside stayed soft, catching the faint sweetness of the corn. When drizzled with maple syrup, it became something transcendent. Sweet, savory, and nostalgic all at once. The joy of cooking called them a luncheon for all hours, and they lived up to that promise. They appeared at kitchen tables, church picnics, and roadside stands, eaten hot from paper towels while steam still curled into the air. Some cooks added green onion or bacon, others kept them plain, letting simplicity shine. Corn fritters with maple drizzle captured the rhythm of everyday cooking, fast, generous, and full of soul. They were food made to be shared, to be gone too soon. Zucchini fritters from leftovers were the garden surplus lunch that turned backyard vegetables into something hot, crispy, and filling when you had more zucchini than you knew what to do with. You grated up those extra zucchinis, mixed them with flour, eggs, and a little seasoning, then pan-fried them until golden brown. It was quick, cheap, and showed up in nearly every Use Your Garden Haul cookbook from the 1970s. Backyard gardens always seemed to over-deliver on zucchini, and fritters were a fast, satisfying way to keep all that produce from going to waste. They crisped up around the edges, stayed soft in the center, and felt just hearty enough to pass for lunch. Some families added shredded cheese, herbs, or breadcrumbs to stretch them further, but most kept it simple with just the basics. It was frugal, filling, and practical, a classic example of how families made the most of what they grew. It might not have been exciting, but zucchini fritters worked hard to keep plates full and grocery spending low. Jelly roll-ups on white bread were a quick, sweet little snack that kept plenty of kids going when there was not much else to pack in their lunchbox. You took a slice of sandwich bread, rolled it flat with a rolling pin or a glass, spread on jelly, and rolled it up tight. That was all there was to it. It sounds simple now, but back then, this was the kind of treat that showed up when families had to stretch every dollar. It was fast, easy, and made use of pantry staples that were always on hand. You would find these roll-ups tucked into school lunches, brought to church picnics, or passed around as after-school snacks when groceries were running low. The jelly added sweetness, the bread kept it filling, and it all came together in just a few minutes. It might be forgotten today, but for plenty of families, these jelly roll-ups were a quick fix that kept kids happy and parents sane. Cabbage and hot dog stir-fry was the skillet lunch that popped up in every budget cookbook from the 1970s, and it stuck around because it worked. You chopped cabbage, sliced up hot dogs, threw them in a hot pan with a little oil, and stir-fried the whole thing until crispy and tender. It was salty, smoky, crunchy, and came together in under 10 minutes. This recipe lived in frugal households, school cafeterias, and quick lunch guides because it used the cheapest ingredients possible and still filled you up. Cabbage was a go-to vegetable for stretching meals, and hot dogs were always around because they lasted forever in the fridge. Toss them together, add a little pepper or hot sauce, and lunch was ready fast. Some folks added onions or garlic, but most kept it simple, just cabbage and hot dogs sizzling in the pan. It was not fancy, but it was reliable, warm, and made sure nothing went to waste when groceries were tight. Creamed peas on toast turned a bag of frozen peas and a little flour into a fast dinner that warmed the evening. Butter melted in a skillet while a spoonful of flour was whisked in to make a smooth roux. Then milk streamed in to form a creamy sauce. The peas went straight from freezer to pan, bright green against the pale gravy as they softened and released their sweetness. Thick slices of bread toasted in the same pan or under a quick broiler became the foundation, soaking up the sauce while staying crisp at the edges. A sprinkle of black pepper and a pinch of nutmeg gave the dish surprising depth, proof that simple pantry ingredients could still feel indulgent. Families loved how it filled plates in less than 10 minutes and cost almost nothing, making it a dependable weeknight standby. Children liked the mild flavor and the fun of cutting through the soft bread with a fork, while adults found comfort in its quiet, creamy richness. One bite carried the memory of suppers built on thrift and ingenuity, a reminder that speed and satisfaction can share the same plate when time and money are scarce, but hunger is real. Ham and pineapple foldovers were the decade's love letter to sweet and savory living. Thin slices of ham were topped with pineapple rings, brushed with mustard, and broiled on bread or biscuit halves until the edges crisped. The result was warm, tangy, and quick, a meal fit for both lunch and company. The Joy of Cooking listed it as a 10-minute sandwich, perfect for unexpected guests or late-night suppers. It was food that wore a smile, bright, colorful, unapologetically mid-century. The pineapple's sweetness met the salty ham in perfect balance, every bite delivering nostalgia in flavor form. These sandwiches sat proudly on holiday tables and weekday trays alike, their simplicity making them timeless. A sprinkle of grated cheese on top made them even better, melting into golden bubbles. It was fast food before the term existed, homemade and proud. Each foldover told the story of an era that loved flair without the weight. Cornmeal. Crusted catfish fillets brought the taste of a southern fish fry to the table in minutes, turning thin fillets into golden perfection. A simple dredge of cornmeal seasoned with salt, pepper, and a hint of cayenne coated the fish, while oil heated in a cast-iron skillet. As soon as the fillets touched the pan, they sizzled and released a savory aroma that promised a feast. In only a few minutes, each side crisped to a deep golden brown, while the flesh stayed tender and flaky. Remember those working man's dinners you could make in just 10 minutes after a long day on the line? These dinners filled mid-century kitchens with quick heat, heavy plates, and the smell of hard work turning into comfort. What did those rushed but satisfying nights give us that slower meals never could? Egg and ketchup stir-fry over rice was the no-fuss pantry lunch that every family had in their back pocket when groceries were running low but bellies still needed filling. You cracked a couple of eggs into a pan, scrambled them up with a little oil, added a squirt of ketchup, and poured the whole thing over leftover rice. That was it. Done in under 10 minutes, salty, tangy, and surprisingly satisfying for something so simple. Kids loved it because it tasted like breakfast and lunch at the same time, with just enough of that sweet ketchup kick to keep things interesting. Parents leaned on it because it used what they already had in the kitchen. Eggs, rice, and ketchup were always hanging around. Some families added soy sauce, scallions, or even a slice of processed cheese to stretch it further, but most kept it basic and fast. You could find this recipe scribbled in lunch guides, tucked inside old homemaker cookbooks, or passed along by neighbors who knew how to stretch leftovers into a real meal. It was not fancy, but it filled you up when time and money were tight. Tomato and sugar. Open-faced sandwiches were one of those quirky summer snacks that showed up when gardens were full, money was tight, and lunch had to be quick and simple. You sliced a fresh tomato, buttered a piece of bread, sprinkled sugar over the top, and that was it. A little sweet, a little juicy, and ready in minutes. It sounds strange today, but back then, this was a familiar plate across farm towns and small kitchens all over America. The tomatoes were easy to grow, the bread stretched what you had, and the sugar turned it into a treat that brightened up long summer days. Families leaned on recipes like this when grocery lists were short, and mealtime had to be stretched with what was already growing out back. You would find this simple snack scribbled in old cookbooks, passed around at neighborhood picnics, or taught to kids as one of their first kitchen lessons. It might seem forgotten now, but for plenty of folks back then, tomato and sugar sandwiches were a fast, filling reminder of how far a little garden and a little creativity could go. Cabbage and sausage fry-up offered big flavor and a full stomach with almost no preparation. Pre-cooked sausage slices hit the skillet first, releasing fat and spice that would season everything to come. Thin shreds of green cabbage followed, sizzling as they met the hot pan and softening into tender ribbons that soaked up the sausage drippings. A splash of vinegar or a pinch of red pepper flakes brightened the dish, while a quick toss brought everything together in less than 10 minutes. The combination of smoky meat and sweet cabbage made each bite taste richer than its humble ingredients suggested. Served alone or with a slice of bread, it filled plates and satisfied appetites without straining the grocery budget. Working families valued the ease, but they also loved the hearty, old-world flavor that reminded them of meals once cooked slowly, now captured in minutes. Canned mushroom soup over toast was the heavy hot lunch that filled bellies fast when groceries were low and no one had time to cook. You opened a can of cream of mushroom soup, heated it on the stove, poured it over buttered toast slices, and called it done. It was quick, salty, warm, and showed up in almost every old-school cookbook as a no-fuss meal for tight grocery weeks. Families leaned on it during cold winters, rushed afternoons, or whenever the fridge looked empty but people still needed to eat. It stuck to your ribs, filled you up, and somehow made basic pantry ingredients stretch just a little further. Some folks dressed it up with black pepper, shredded cheese, or canned peas if they had them, but the plain version, soup over toast, was the classic. You would find this little meal in lunch guides, old diner menus, and those faded recipe cards passed down through families. It was simple, a little salty, and proof that even the most basic pantry staples could pull together lunch when money was tight and time was short. Creamed corn and hot dog skillet might raise a few eyebrows today, but back then it was pure practicality in a pan. You sliced up hot dogs, tossed them in a skillet, and poured in a can of creamed corn. It bubbled and thickened in minutes, turning into this sweet, salty, creamy meal that filled everyone up fast. You would not find it in fancy cookbooks or glossy magazines, but you would definitely see it scribbled onto a recipe card tucked in Grandma's kitchen drawer. It made use of cheap pantry staples, stretched meat farther, and showed up on busy nights when nobody wanted to cook. Kids loved the weird sweetness, parents loved how far a can of corn could go, and it all came together in under 10 minutes. It sounds strange now, but for families watching every penny, it was comfort food that made do with what little they had. Another forgotten quick fix that quietly slipped off dinner tables over time. Shrimp and grits. Quick bowl delivered coastal comfort with pantry convenience, turning pre-cooked shrimp and instant grits into a 10-minute feast. Water boiled while butter melted in a skillet, where garlic and a pinch of paprika released a smoky aroma. The shrimp, already cooked and cleaned, were tossed in the sizzling butter until warmed through and lightly seasoned with lemon juice. Instant grits whisked in another pot thickened in minutes, creamy and soft with a touch of salt. The hot grits were spooned into bowls and topped with the buttery shrimp and their flavorful drippings. A sprinkle of chopped green onions or parsley added a fresh finish. Despite the short cooking time, the dish tasted like a slow weekend brunch by the shore. Families loved how it brought a touch of luxury to a busy weeknight, proving that quick meals could still feel special and deeply satisfying when simple ingredients were treated with care and attention. Cottage pudding with hot lemon sauce was the dessert that made any meal feel complete, no matter how simple the dinner that came before it. Despite its name, it was not pudding at all but a soft, buttery cake, light, fragrant, and ready to soak up every drop of syrup poured over it. The joy of cooking praised it as speedy comfort, something that could be mixed and baked in the time it took coffee to brew. Flour, milk, sugar, and butter came together in one bowl, transforming pantry staples into something worthy of company. The hot lemon sauce was what made it sing, a bright, golden syrup that cut through the sweetness like sunlight after rain. Served straight from the oven, steam curling up through the sauce, it filled kitchens with the scent of home. It was the dessert for long evenings, for Sunday suppers, or for quiet nights when a family needed something kind. Its beauty lay in its modesty, no frosting, no decoration, just truth and flavor. Every spoonful felt like gratitude made edible, a reminder that joy was often simple, quick, and within reach. Chicken fried rice with canned chicken delivered a satisfying stir-fry that used pantry staples to create takeout flavor in record time. Day-old rice separated beautifully in a hot skillet coated with a thin film of oil, each grain absorbing the smoky heat. Diced onions, carrots, and peas added color and sweetness, sizzling as they released their fragrance. A can of cooked chicken provided tender meat with no extra prep, breaking apart into savory shreds that mingled with the vegetables. A quick splash of soy sauce and a sprinkle of garlic powder tied everything together, while scrambled eggs folded in at the end brought richness and body. The result was a meal that tasted carefully crafted yet came together in less than 15 minutes, perfect for evenings when energy ran low but appetites ran high. Families loved how it stretched a small amount of protein across several generous portions while clearing the fridge of leftover rice. Each spoonful offered the comfort of home and the excitement of a restaurant favorite, a reminder that great flavor does not require a long list of fresh ingredients when skill and heat meet simple planning. Fried bologna and mustard sandwich was a 10-minute fix that never pretended to be fancy, but always hit the spot. You tossed a slice of bologna into a hot pan, let it sizzle until the edges curled, slapped it onto soft bread, and added mustard. That was it. Simple, quick, and surprisingly satisfying. Back in Grandma's day, this showed up when money was tight, groceries were low, or you just needed something fast before heading back to work or school. It was salty, smoky, and the bologna crisped up just enough to feel like real cooking. Kids loved it, adults leaned on it, and every household had their own little spin on the recipe. Some added cheese, some toasted the bread, but most kept it plain and practical. You would not find this in glossy magazines, but you would find it tucked in those old handwritten cookbooks, passed down from one generation to the next. Another quick forgotten gem from a time when meals had to be fast, filling, and affordable. Cracker Stack lunches were the shortcut every lunchbox kid quietly loved, and every parent threw together when time was short. You took Ritz crackers, layered slices of American cheese between them, and tossed in some apple slices on the side. It was simple, salty, and filled you up without needing to cook a thing. Old lunchbox guides always had this one listed because it hit that sweet spot between easy, affordable, and kid-friendly. Some folks swapped in peanut butter or ham, but the classic cheese and cracker combo stuck around the longest. It was not gourmet, but it got the job done. Quick, portable, and ready before the bus pulled up. It sounds basic now, but for families juggling busy mornings and tight grocery budgets, Cracker Stacks were a reliable lunch that needed zero effort to pull off. Texas chili dog plate made a hearty, messy dinner that satisfied every craving after a long workday. Hot dogs sizzled in a skillet while a can of chili warmed on the stove with a spoonful of cumin and smoked paprika to deepen the flavor. Soft buns were split and toasted lightly, ready to hold the hot dogs as soon as they browned. The steaming chili was spooned generously over each dog, followed by shredded cheddar and a scatter of diced onions for bite. The smell of spice and smoke filled the kitchen, drawing everyone to the table before the last dog was dressed. Each plate was a cheerful mess, requiring extra napkins and rewarding every bite with a mix of textures and flavors. It was inexpensive, quick, and filling, perfect for nights when there was little time but big appetites. The combination of tender bun, juicy sausage, and rich chili sauce made this simple dish a lasting favorite in households that valued both speed and flavor. Banana coffee milkshake was the breakfast of speed and optimism, born in the pages of the 1950s when mornings had to move fast. Sliced banana, chilled milk, instant coffee, and a spoonful of sugar met in the blender for less than a minute, turning into something smooth, rich, and surprisingly elegant. The joy of cooking called it an energy drink. Though no one used the term then, it was simply the fuel for a modern life. Housewives drank it between errands, students sipped it before school. The banana softened the coffee's bitterness, giving it a mellow sweetness that felt indulgent but practical. It was the flavor of a time when progress meant convenience and health came bottled in glass. Served cold in tall cups with a straw, it captured the joy of new technology. Blenders, freezers, fridges, machines that promised to make living lighter. The banana coffee milkshake was more than breakfast. It was the taste of change. It proved that even the busiest mornings could start with something comforting, cool, and quick. Applesauce and cottage cheese bowls were one of those sweet, simple meals that came together in minutes, filling the gap between breakfast, lunch, or even dessert when there was not much to spare in the pantry. You would scoop a generous helping of cottage cheese into a bowl, spoon cool applesauce over the top, and maybe add a little cinnamon if you had some lying around. That was all there was to it. It sounds plain now, but back when groceries were scarce and money had to stretch, this quick little bowl was a lifesaver. It was light, cool, sweet, and packed with enough protein to hold you over during busy days. In the 1960s, families leaned on easy meals like this to keep things running, especially when both time and ingredients were in short supply. You would find this simple recipe scribbled in old cookbooks, shared between neighbors, or tucked into handwritten kitchen notes passed down through the years. Some folks dressed it up with fruit or nuts if they had them, but most kept it practical and affordable. It might be forgotten today, but applesauce and cottage cheese bowls kept plenty of households fed, happy, and full with little more than 2 everyday staples. Ham and cheese biscuit sandwiches turned leftovers into a satisfying handheld meal that tasted like a weekend treat even on the busiest night. Flaky biscuits baked from a can or quickly mixed from scratch rose high in the oven while slices of baked ham warmed in a skillet. As soon as the biscuits were golden, they were split open and layered with the savory ham and slices of sharp cheddar or mild American cheese. A few minutes back in the warm oven melted the cheese into a gooey blanket that glued everything together. The salty ham, buttery biscuit, and rich cheese made a perfect combination that required no side dish and no long wait. For families coming home late, this sandwich was both supper and comfort, a way to turn yesterday's roast into tonight's fast feast. Children grabbed them hot from the tray, and the memory of that warm bite remains an echo of efficiency and home-style pleasure. Fried bologna with mustard on toast was the quick stovetop lunch that somehow managed to taste better than it had any right to. You sliced bologna, tossed it in a hot pan, watched it curl up at the edges, and slapped it on toasted bread with a smear of yellow mustard. That was it. Lunch in under 10 minutes. It was salty, tangy, crispy around the edges, and showed up everywhere from lunch counters to kitchen tables when the grocery list was running short. Bologna was cheap, lasted forever in the fridge, and frying it gave it just enough of a glow-up to make it feel like more than sandwich meat. Some folks added a slice of cheese or swapped in rye bread, but the classic stayed simple and fast. Fried bologna with mustard was not glamorous, but it hit the spot when you needed something filling, salty, and satisfying without much effort. It was a staple in school lunchrooms, factory break rooms, and busy homes, sticking around because it was affordable, reliable, and always ready when the clock was ticking. Ranchero bean tostadas brought the lively spirit of a cantina to the weeknight table using only a few ingredients. Crisp corn tortillas toasted under the broiler formed a sturdy base for creamy refried beans straight from the can, warmed with a dash of cumin and a spoonful of diced tomatoes. A quick sprinkle of shredded cheddar melted under the heat, creating a golden crust that held everything together. Fresh salsa, sliced jalapenos, and a handful of chopped cilantro added color and brightness, turning a simple pantry meal into a vibrant feast. In less than 15 minutes, each tostada emerged hot and ready, inviting everyone to add their favorite toppings like sour cream or diced avocado. The crunchy base and savory beans offered a satisfying contrast that pleased both children and adults, proving that meatless dinners can still feel indulgent and filling. Every bite carried smoky spice and fresh garden flavor, perfect for nights when time was short, but a craving for bold taste remained strong, making this dish a regular star in kitchens that celebrated speed and flavor in equal measure. Shrimp wiggle was one of those mid-century wonders that sounded playful but tasted like pure indulgence. Canned shrimp were folded into a quick cream sauce made with milk, butter, and flour, then brightened with a handful of green peas. It was served bubbling hot over saltine crackers or toast, ready in 10 minutes and perfect for company. The joy of cooking presented it as a pantry meal, proof that elegance could live in a can. The name alone made people smile, a hint that mealtime could still be fun even when rushed. The sauce shimmered pale pink, the shrimp tender and mild. It was a dish that combined thrift with theater, turning modest ingredients into something you would never call ordinary. The moment you broke through the creamy layer with your fork, steam carried the scent of butter and the sea. It was quick cooking at its finest, cheerful, comforting, and quietly clever. Which vintage side dish would you bring back to your holiday table? Share your memories in the comments, hit like and subscribe for more forgotten recipes from Grandmother's Kitchen.